Hey, it's John McCalmont, Bass Champs Doc Talk. We just wrapped up an incredible event on Lake Fork. This is going to be our preview to Sam Rayburn Reservoir, which will be that's our third stop, isn't it, Jeff, this
Third
year, the
stop of the season,
2025
definitely.
season? And
Yep.
man, looking forward to Sam Rayburn for one huge and massive reason. Jeff, tell me about the weather leading up to our Rayburn event.
I hate to talk about it because I'm a little superstitious,
Is
but
it might jinx everything?
we've had some brutal weather. The first two stops, the first Rayburn was really high winds, and Lake Fork had some promise, but high winds and rain. So it looks like next week I'm seeing lows in the upper 40s and 50s, and I see 70s in there.
I
And
know.
I hate to talk about it much, but this is the event I'm looking forward to.
The weather model I looked at said Sam Rayburn, we could hit 76 degrees on Saturday. Now, don't hold me to that because currently, right now, because we're obviously recording the podcast early, I'm getting lake effect snows off of Lake Ray Hubbard right now.
It's freaking cold this week. I'm really glad that A, I'm not fishing, and B, I'm not hosting. So
Yeah,
looking forward to next week.
Yeah, next week is going to be an amazing week. The weather is going to be incredible, and we've got Todd Faircloth, who cut his teeth on Sam Rayburn. I mean, it's going to be. I'm going to ask him how many hours. I might ask him how many days because the amount of hours he has on that lake may not be calculable because he knows that lake better than anybody. He's going to break it down for us. But first, a little housekeeping. Who won our reel last week? Costello.
Yeah, LJ Castillo.
LJ Costello. Okay, congratulations, LJ. You won an Abu Garcia for commenting, sharing, and liking our video this week. What are we going to give away this week, Jeff?
Hey, let's do another Abu Garcia. That went over well. I've got it right behind me. Another
Dang,
we'll do the exact same thing. Thanks to everybody at Pure Fishing. We've got another reel to give away this week.
All right. So
great prize.
So remember, you've got to like the video. You've obviously got to comment on it because we can't find you if you don't comment on it. And you need to share it. And while you're doing all of that, you might as well subscribe so you can get the rest of our videos sent to you and find other great giveaways. But another Abu Garcia reel. That is awesome, dude. That's stepping up. And another little housekeeping. We got something big coming up on April 6th. Let's take a look at that right now.
Mega Bass on Lake Fork.
Ooh, let's rewind it first.
25,000 cash guaranteed every hour. April 6th, Mega Bass on Lake Fork. In 2024, James Crawford won $15,000 in a new Skeeter. This year, it could be you. Open to all amateur anglers and all boat brands. $15,000 first place every hour. 15 places and $25,000 guaranteed every hour. Big Bass of the Day wins $15,000 cash plus a Skeeter ZX200. Over $200,000 awarded in one day. April 6th, Mega Bass on Lake Fork. Visit BassChamps.com for all the details.
$200,000 awarded in one day.
Awesome day.
Awesome day.
There's a lot to be said about that event, and we probably ought to just do a whole podcast on it and get with Todd about Rayburn on this one. But it is a freaking awesome event.
And that 1277 that Nolan caught at Lake Fork, man, that would have gone over big time.
Man, the lake's healthy. It's been down and had water in it for the last few years and plenty of water in it right now. The spawns have been good. The health of the fish was incredible this weekend. And even given the weather, looking at the results, were way better than what you and I predicted right on this podcast.
Yeah, it took over 8 pounds to get a check. Of course, Drew Sloan, Nolan Jackson, they took home over $26,000 for first place.
Absolutely.
Charles Fisher, Chris Alberton caught 962, which was another beautiful fish. And then look, Cody Ross and River Lee, those guys took home over $14,500 with the Skeeter bonus. Man, talk about a big payday.
Yeah, they're on fire. That's 2 big bonus checks, and I have to bring it up. After 2 events, over $42,000 in incentive cash has been awarded, just above the payout.
Yeah,
I mean, over 40 grand in 2 events. Obviously all possible through, great partners.
And we gave away our Skeeter high school bonus at Lake Fork, which is
$2,500
bonus. $2,500 if you're fishing out of a qualified Skeeter with a student registered in the high school fishing program.
So that's correct.
Yeah. And man, he was excited. He weighed in.
That team was
weigh in a 192 or
Yeah, I don't even remember, but all they knew is they had a $2,500 check in their hand and they were smiling ear to ear. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
those are the fun checks to give away.
Yeah, they weren't expecting it.
And I was talking to Cody and River. Of course, those guys are also hammers on Sam Rayburn.
Yep.
And we were talking all about the lake level. The lake level is in great shape right now. The water's in the bushes. You and I were talking about it, thinking that flipping bushes with the weather coming up could be a huge player in this upcoming tournament. Cody and River, they still think it's going to be one on the hard spots moving into the spawning areas. What are your thoughts before we get Todd on?
I love a flipping stick.
Oh, who doesn't?
Freaking accent creature bait and put it in my hand and I'm happy. So I'm going flipping and shallow. That's just what I like to do. But those guys, I'm not going to bet against them, and I'm real interested to see what Todd has to say about next week with this big weather change and favorable conditions coming.
Well, look who just popped in, Mr. Todd Faircloth himself. This guy's got 2 12th place finishes already this year. Conroe, which is a cool place to fish. Harris Chain, 12th place. The dude's won millions upon millions of dollars in his fishing career. One of my favorite wins, Todd, Lake Amstead, 2008, back when Amstead was in its heyday. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Bass Champs Doc Talk, Todd. And my first question for you, Jeff and I were talking about this earlier. How many hours do you have in on Sam Rayburn Reservoir?
Oh Lord, I have no idea. That's that'd be hard to calculate. But I cut my teeth on Sam Rayburn. I consider it my home lake. Toledo Bend as well. Countless hours, countless tournaments. If you look at a lot of the anglers that are coming up right now on professional tours, a lot of them are from that region. And it was no different when I was growing up. You had David Wharton, you had Larry Nixon, you had Zell Rowland, all those great anglers, Tommy Martin. I mean, you couldn't ask for 2 better lakes right there than to learn. They're very diverse fisheries, and I've spent countless hours out there, not necessarily, fishing a pattern or technique that would win on those lakes, but learning those techniques and patterns that I can go to different lakes where they're predominant and prevailing with them. I mean, I won my first Elite Series tournament on Table Rock Lake with a spinning rod and 6-pound test line that I learned how to do on Sam Rayburn. Are you going to win doing that on Sam Rayburn? Not at that time you weren't. You might now. I don't know. But just a great learning lake. Rayburn especially, it has been such a producer of big weights for just countless years. We had one year there in the 90s where we had a fish kill where you saw it, kind of get set back a year or two. But as long as we keep the grass alive in those lakes, they'll be fine. It doesn't matter where we go, anywhere in the country, lake, river, it doesn't matter. If they have aquatic vegetation in them, they're just better fisheries. And, we had some high water that killed back some of our vegetation in Rayburn last year, but it'll come back. We've got some, not a bunch, but it'll come back, especially the lake level right now. It's in a good stage, and the lake's in great shape. It's already kicked out a bunch of big weights, and big stringers already this year. So I expect no different from y'all's event as well.
So take yourself back, Todd, to the days when you were, fishing team tournaments on Sam Rayburn Reservoir, and pretend like you're back there today.
Yeah.
And you're fishing Bass Champs, and water temps are going to be, climbing because we've got lows in the upper 40s, lower 50s, highs in the upper 60s, lower 70s all week long. What are your thoughts on breaking down the lake? Where are you thinking what patterns might be working this coming tournament weekend?
There's going to be a lot of stuff coming to play. Typically this is, this time of year, and with the warming trend, there's going to be a lot of fish wanting to go shallow. And I grew up on that lake, but my main section of that lake was probably, south and north side from Coleman across all the way, probably 5 miles above the 147 bridge. That was the stretch of the lake that I fished the most. And Buck Bay and the Ash Arm Farmers and all that stuff is historically good. They're good areas of the lake, and you can win out of those areas. I just concentrated my efforts up that other arm. Buck Bay and the Ash Arm holds one of the biggest populations of fish on the lake. It's just not an area that I fished a lot growing up. My home was back on that other section. That's where I spent most of my time. Obviously, the northwest banks, they're going to warm the most. And if I was fishing this event, my focus would be 3 miles north of the bridge to about 3 or 4 miles south of the bridge. And when I say bridge, I say 147. That's the area that I feel like, you have the most potential in a one-day derby to catch, what it's going to take to catch to win this event. And that's probably going to be, I would say, around the 30-pound mark. And that's a safe bet. It could be more than that as well.
It could be 44 pounds.
It could be 44 pounds. That is 100% right. But I've caught so many fish in that region of the lake, in that 9 to 10 pound range, that it's just a predominant area. It's got a lot of history. Obviously, the northwest banks are going to warm the fastest. If you're a shallow water fisherman and you're looking for warm water and you're wanting to fish, 10, I say 5 foot or less, or 10 foot or less, the northwest banks are going to warm the fastest. But, that south side over on the Black Forest area, it's going to be a little bit behind, say, the Indian and the Harvey side. Mm-hmm. It'll be cooler, and because it's, predominant to those northwest winds. But it just kind of depends on how you want to fish. You can go above the bridge and you can pick up the flipping stick and you can get after it in the bushes. There's going to be some fish in the bushes by the time y'all's tournament starts.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there is. It's that time of year. You're going to be on a warming trend, and there'll be in my opinion, there'll probably be some big females in the bushes. Can you win that way? I just don't think you can. I really don't. I really feel like the tournament will be won on probably hard spots leading into the spawning areas. I'd say, in that 10 to 20 foot range, Carolina rig, football jig, a big crankbait, or the very popular thing to do now, the forward facing sonar, the jig head minnow deal over the bait balls. That's going to be a player as well. So the beauty about Rayburn is you can win pretty much anywhere on the lake if you stay in those historic areas. And you can win doing a lot of different things. Now, so probably not so much as used to. I think, the forward-facing sonar deal has kind of opened up our eyes that a lot of the bigger groups of fish just live offshore and they never come to the bank. But man, it'd be hard for me not to check them bushes. I would have to check the bushes because I love the flip, and there's some stretches that historically they move up in first, and I'd have to get the old flipping stick out and flip a bug in it probably, but it will probably be won on a hard spot if I had to guess leading into those areas.
What so when you're targeting those hard spots, you're targeting with Carolina rig, deep diving crankbait, or are you looking for grass around them, or are you just targeting on those hard spots, holding those fish wanting to move up?
Yeah, there's not going to be a whole lot of grass, especially in that zone of the lake. From what I understand, most of the grass is between Coleman and Beach, what grass there is. And, those areas are good areas. And, the problem with when you have very little grass, you'll have a lot of people fishing in that area, in those areas. So they receive a lot of pressure. I'm not saying you can't win there, because you definitely can. I mean, everybody knows this time of year, pre-spawn, a Strike King red eye shad, I mean, a lipless crankbait, a vibrating jig. I mean, you can catch some monster. I mean, the two biggest fish I ever caught in my life were on a lipless crankbait.
Yeah, that was two biggest fish from Lake Fork were on a lipless crankbait
so,
last week.
I mean, it's just a wintertime big bass catcher.
Yeah.
So there's definitely possibilities, there. It's just historically this time of year, it's hard to beat a one-day derby. A guy's gonna land on a hard spot where those big ones are up feeding, and usually they're feeding early, first thing in the morning, and they crack them before noon, and it's game over. I mean, that's just usually how it happens. And
great info.
They'll catch 30 to 40 pounds before noon, and they'll be eating lunch at the dock, waiting for y'all to open the scales. I mean, that's usually how it happens. But
it's amazing how many big sacks Rayburn still turns out we all know every weekend there's multiple tournaments on that lake. And every weekend, Rayburn, she still produces big sacks of bass.
It's crazy to me how it's probably the number one lake. I fished all over the country, guys. I mean, everywhere. And lakes get on fire. They get good. And
Amstead in 2008 when you won it. I mean, you couldn't find a better lake to fish in the country then, other than Falcon, maybe.
Yeah, and then it falls off, But just consistently good, year after year after year after year, Rayburn it produces them, and it withstands the pressure, like you said. I mean, back when I was fishing home with Dad in the team tournaments and stuff, we were fishing 3 or 4 different team trails. We'd have to split up. One would fish alone one week, and we're just trying to qualify for as many championships as we can. But there's just so many tournaments on Rayburn, but it can withstand the pressure. It's big enough. It's got. I'll say this too. Our Texas Parks and Wildlife, I think our management does a better job than any state in the U.S.
100% agree.
100%. And they take care of our fisheries. They put back into our fisheries. They've got a great stocking program, and hats off to those guys, because they pay attention to it and they take care of them. And I think as anglers, it's also our job too, to do our part in that as well.
Absolutely. Hey, Todd, you brought something up during kind of your lake breakdown that just intrigued me, and I just wanted to dive into it just for a minute here. You're talking about some of the differences in the lake and what forward-facing sonars taught you, and you made a comment along the lines of, hey, Jeff, there's some really big fish that just roamers, they're nomadic out here, that don't go to the bank. Do you think, and I'm just checking here, does that big female that you're talking about, does she eventually go to the bank and spawn this time of year? Or do you think she's just never? Interesting. I'm just wanting to get your opinion on it.
Yeah. I know this for a fact, Jeff. I've caught bass in the Black Forest,
okay,
in May, that had eggs in them, that were spawning out there. Now, granted, the lake was a little bit low, and but the fish were 5 or 6 foot deep, and they were spawning out in the Black Forest.
Like spawning on wood out there, I guess.
Spawning on hard spots and wood,
gotcha.
Besides stumps and stuff. Now, granted, the lake was a little bit low, when that was happening, but some of those fish never go to the bank, and they're late spawners. But if you take that into consideration, you say May at Rayburn, you're like, man, all the fish are spawned by April usually. But those are the fish that go to the bank. Those main lake fish, they'll spawn out on those long main lake points where there's a hard spot. They'll spawn on those humps, and they never go to the bank. They never go to the backs of the pockets. And I 100% agree. 100% believe that. Now, the fish that first come up and they do spawn, they're the bankers. They're the ones that go to the warmest water and stuff like that. But some of those fish never go to the bank.
Yeah,
I 100% believe that. They spawn on main lake points, and they'll spawn on humps and stuff like that out in the main lake if the water level is low enough and they can get enough light penetration. 100%.
Yeah, I remember back in the heydays of Amstead, of course, way before forward-facing sonar, the lake was so clear, you could see some of those big girls spawning in 10 to 15 foot of water because they had the light penetration down there. And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna sight fish for this one in 20 foot of water, and you're like, okay, how do I get it down there?
Right. Yeah. And you have to take into consideration too. Main lake water, what the surface temp is not what it is, at what you were talking about, 20 foot or whatever. So that's going to be a later gig, So you can actually, from the end of February, 1st of March, you can follow spawning fish on Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, all the way to May.
Wow.
All the way to May, you can follow them if that's what you want to do. And they don't all spawn at the same time, just like all deer don't rut at the same time. I mean, it's those fisheries have so many fish in them that they have different stages and processes when they do it, and they don't all spawn in the same place. And you have to take all that into consideration. Obviously, everything that you read, the northwest banks are going to warm up faster. They're going to be the hottest places earlier. And, shallow. Yes, that is correct. Like I was talking about earlier, the Indian Harvey side, it's going to warm up. It's going to be about 2 weeks to 3 weeks ahead of what, like, say, Black Forest side is going to be. The stuff that's behind the Black Forest, it's going to be later. It takes that. It's exposed to a northwest wind, and the water's just cooler. So
makes sense.
You can like I said, you can follow the spawn, from end of February, 1st of March. When's the next full moon? I think it's the 1st of March, isn't it?
It is the beginning of March, yes.
Beginning of March. So you're on a warming trend. You got a big full moon coming. The 1st of March is usually when the biggest concentration of fish spawn on Rayburn. They go to the bank. So y'all are leading into a really,
it just kind of makes you excited. Makes you want to go
really
fishing.
good time to be there for sure. Yeah.
I'd like to go fishing until I walk outside today.
I just came from Florida from shorts and flip flops, and we get here and it's like, oh my God. I should
ready to go back to Florida.
All
right, Todd. So we know you're probably going to go to the bank and flip a little bit, just because you just want to do it, just get it out of your system. So, and I know you're targeting hard spots and fish moving up. You got, so like in this tournament, just for fun, I'm going to say you've only got 4 rods on the deck. You're not going to have any other ones. What do you got tied onto those 4 rods?
Ooh, you're only giving me 4, huh?
I'll give you 5. I'll be generous. I'll give you 5.
Well, if I'm going to win the tournament, you only need 1, because you usually only catch them on 1, huh?
That's true.
I definitely have a 6XD tied on. It's hard to beat a short truce powder blueback one this time of year. There's been probably more tournaments won on that plug on Rayburn than any other. I'd have a Strike King Red Eye Shad, obviously lipless crankbait. It has some orange or red on it somewhere. I like a short truce one sometimes too. There's a little nugget for you guys.
Yeah, never heard that.
Depending on water clarity, you gotta have a Carolina rig that time of year. I will say this, and I believe this. I feel like you on fishing hard spots this time of year, which I think is going to win this tournament. I feel like you are more prone to catch a above average fish on a hard moving bait like a crankbait as opposed to a soft plastic. and I firmly believe that whether it's a red-eye shad, whether it's a crankbait, a 6XD like I talked about, you can get probably more bites on a soft plastic, but this time of year, you normally catch your bigger fish on a hard bait.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that. So I got a Carolina rig, I got a 6XD, I got a red-eye shad, a lipless. That leaves me 2 more, right?
2 more. You got 2 more rods. You can
maybe one more.
One more.
Yeah. You gonna give me one more?
Yeah.
One
more.
more.
In today's day and age, I mean, I'm not gonna be the old guy that like bucks the trend. I mean, I'm no master at this thing by no means, but I've got to take a minnow, but I'm not going to use a bitsy minnow. I'm going to go with a bigger minnow. I'm going to go with a minnow on a jig head, but I'll probably go with a 5 or 7 inch one because Rayburn and those little fish ain't going to do you no good.
No. Hey, real quick, it intrigued me, these hard spots. I hear it every time we're around, especially Rayburn, Toledo area, your backyard, Todd. Everybody talks about hard spots.
Yeah.
Average angler, I don't have a lot of time. I want to find some of these hard spots. How are you finding these? Besides just saying, hey, Jeff, I've had 25 years on Sam Rayburn. I've seen it 22 feet low. I've seen it 5 feet high. I mean, if you were just John and I were going to go out and look for a couple hard spots. We want to try to win. What are we going to do on our we have one official day of practice, so which would be Friday before the event. I don't have any hard spots in my memory bank. How do we go find a couple?
Well, you've got to know what to look for on your side imaging. Okay. And on your side imaging, it'll actually just kind of be a little bit brighter. It won't be a whole lot brighter, but it'll be a little bit brighter. And the hard spots usually are always on like a high spot of a ridge, a hump, a point, something like that. They're on the high spot of it. It might be, let's just take example, a hump, a main lake hump, and say it tops out at 15 foot. Say that hump tops out at 15 foot. I'm going to find something where it's vertical by that hump, something that drops off pretty quick. And then I'm going to take into account which way the current flows through the lake or creek that you're fishing. And what little bit of current that comes through there, it will form like shell beds or a hard spot on top of that structure. And that's what you're looking for. It's usually on the very top of it. I mean, it could be, there's hard spots in 5 foot. There's hard spots in 20 foot. You have to, spend some seat time behind the wheel, which is hard to do on Rayburn because you want to fish because the fish bites.
I'm guilty of that. Absolutely.
You have to graph around. You have to look for that stuff. And what happens is early in the morning, usually those big fish get up there and there'll be some gizzard shad or something up there, and they just feed early on those spots, and that's when the guys load the boat.
Man, thank you for that, because I'm always careful at tournaments what I ask the winners, but hard spots for sure.
If you haven't noticed by now, being a tournament director and tournament fisherman, Jeff, they're kind of tight-lipped on that kind of stuff.
You're right. Well, thank you for the deets on that, because it's I've been thinking about it a lot, because we're going to hear about our
current. There's not much current that runs through Rayburn. You don't notice it, is what I'm saying. We have a huge dam, but there is current, and that current forms a lot of those hard spots. So even if you're in like a major creek or something, there'll be some flow in that major creek, and you have to keep that in mind. And usually the hard spots will be facing into that current, if that makes sense.
Into the current. Man, that's big time stuff right there. It sounds like I need to spend a little seat time, but it's sure hard to pass those bushes up.
Yeah, I agree. And I forgot, I got to have a flipping stick, so I did get 5 rods.
All right, fair enough. Yeah.
Todd, before I let you go, and I appreciate all the information, Man, how long have you been running a Skeeter? I know it's over 20 years.
Oh, I was thinking about that the other day. I was 19 or 20 years old when I first got on with Skeeter. There was a local dealer right there in Jasper called S&S Outboards. The Spears family ran it. And I went to school with Chad Spears, which was the son of the owner of the store. And I got started with them at the local grassroots level. And I've been with them for forever. And it's pretty cool to look back on some of the history of Skeeter and how they have just continued to make their brand and their boat better. And we got a new model coming up for next year that I'm super excited about. I've seen a little behind the scenes of it, but I'm super excited about it.
Todd just dropped a teaser.
Yeah, hard spots and new models coming out.
So yeah, well they've got something exciting coming out. So but just a great company. I've been with them. I worked my way up, with them, and it's just home. I've been with them so long, and just great people over there. We can sit down and just have a conversation like we're having with them.
Absolutely.
I've enjoyed being with them. I've enjoyed working with them, and believing in a product, and it makes my job real easy to promote the product that I believe in. And I genuinely believe in Skeeter boats, and it makes my job real easy to promote them.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, Todd, man, thank you so much for sharing all the information. And Jeff, should we bring a boat out Friday and fish for a little bit before the 3 o'clock and go find some hard spots?
I'm thinking about Wednesday.
Wednesday, maybe, yeah. Or Sunday after the tournament. That way
Y'all better do it after the tournament. The guys see y'all out there, they're going to say, y'all are sore mouthing my fish. That's going to happen. Y'all better go after.
Well, let's just stay Sunday night and we'll stay Saturday night. We'll just fish on Sunday.
That's right. I'm all in. Let's do it.
Todd, our best to you and your family, man, and thank you so much for spending a little time with us.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Todd. Appreciate your time, buddy.
You bet.
All right, man. Let's get the side scan going and go find some hard spots, dude.
Man, I'm excited. I still like Wednesday better than Sunday, but maybe Todd's right. We got to do Sunday.
I got to work
it's going to be
Wednesday.
A big time event.
But man, it's with the temperatures and great information from Todd, and it's really turning out. It's going to be probably our best day of fishing of the year. Did I just jinx it? I hope not.
I'm knocking on. All right, let's do it. See you at Rayburn, John.
Oh, so real quick, our Abu Garcia giveaway this week.
Yep.
The Abu Garcia giveaway. You got it right there. All right. You've got to like the video. You've got to comment on the video. You've got to share the video. Now, I had a couple of people ask me about that at our last tournament. They said, where do I comment at? You have to comment on the YouTube page. You're welcome to comment on Facebook, Instagram, all the other social media platforms. But in order to be eligible for the drawing, your comment needs to be underneath the video on the YouTube page. And it needs to be liked on the YouTube page, and it needs to be shared off the YouTube page. And we just do that in order to spread the word and get it out to all the anglers and fishermen and people who may never have fished bass champs and are interested in coming out and fishing with us. So, and the other thing we're going to do, was a huge hit at our flipping contest on Friday night at Lake Fork. Everybody that watches this far and has gotten to the end of the video. Last week we said if you told us you got to the end of the video that we'd let you have a second flip in the flipping contest. Remember that, Jeff?
Oh, I do. I told you.
We lost
count. Very many second flips, and I had to eat that.
Yeah, we lost count.
Right.
So this week we're going to do a key phrase. You have to repeat a phrase in order to get that second flip. You got any ideas of what we should, what that phrase should be?
I'm not even going to guess. I'm not even going to guess what you're thinking here.
Chicken fried steak.
Sounds good. From the stump.
Chicken fried steak. You want to add from the stump on there, or do you just
Well,
want
that's
to
where
do
I'm going to
chicken?
go get my chicken fried steak. I'm going to see old
All
Mike
right,
over there.
chicken fried steak from the stump is
Restaurant's been
our
there as long as
key
Todd's
word.
been fishing the lake. So
Yeah, is the key word to get an extra flip on Friday night at Sam Rayburn Reservoir. Man, it's going to be a good turnout. Predictions on what you think it's going to take to win?
man, Rayburn's such a box of
It's
chocolate.
all over the place.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, Rayburn, just real quick, always seems to have, there's always a giant monster bag. Seems like I say that our last event didn't have that giant monster bag. I mean, we had lots of guys surprised that they're in the top 5. So, but with this weather, I'm going to say 34 to 35 pounds to win. And I'm going to go with as many fish that I believe are going to be on the bank. I'm going to say you're going to need almost 20 pounds to be in the money. I think we're going to see the old Rayburn show up in roughly 10 days. With
20
this,
pounds
if this
to be
weather holds and the fish are ready.
Wow, 20 pounds to be in the money. I was going to say a high 18 to be in the money, but you've got me second guessing that now, especially with the weather. And I'm with you. It's going to take mid-30s, I think, to take the top spot. Somebody's going to hit him hard and hit him early, and they're going to pull up on the right spot. But yeah, I'm still going to stick with it's going to take 1890 to get a check, I think.
All right. Well, we're going to find out here in about 10 days.
We're going to find out here in about 10 days. Good luck to all the anglers that are going to be fishing with us at Sam Rayburn. And remember, like the video, comment on the video, and share the video on the YouTube page to be eligible to win that. Right, I can see it right behind you, that Abu Garcia reel.
Yep. Revo. Yep, no doubt.
It's a Revo. It's a great reel. And congratulations to our LJ Costello, who won our last one. Has he reached out to you yet? Does he know he's won that?
Not sure. Be 100%. I need to check with the.
We need to check with that.
Yeah.
If you haven't reached out to Jeff yet, reach out. So
It's here for him.
It's easy to do. We'll see everybody at Sam Rayburn Reservoir this weekend. Look forward to seeing you.